Welcome to Trenergy TV, and today we're on tour again and in Frankfurt, and on my side is a gentleman who also did a lot for the sound of Frankfurt in the 90s. He belonged to one of the biggest dance floor projects in the world called Bouche. They had world hits like Be My Lover and Sweet Dreams. He's been a part of this act since the beginning, and today he's still touring around the world, showing the fans all over and giving them the sound of Bouche. I want to welcome today Lane McCray from Bouche.
What's going on?
Lane, thanks for taking some time. My first question to you is, you've been living in Europe for a long time, in Germany also. Do you miss the hot summers from the States, the real hot summers?
No. I'm not really used to the heat at all because, originally I'm from Alaska, where our summers are about a week and a half, and it's on to the cold weather. But actually here in Germany, it's been kind of heating up here the last couple of years. The first year I came back, I think you guys hit like 105 degrees, and central air conditioning is not a commonplace thing in homes here, so it was hot.
Lane, before we get to the music, I have to ask you about a very delicate issue. We had BG, the Prince of Rap, a good friend of yours, in the interview recently. And right now it's been crazy in the United States with all the violence concerning the police department and also Afro-Americans. How have you seen this? It seems like to be a very unnice thing that's developing over time. It seems like just recently there's just been too much going on. How do you cope with that? I mean, you have all your family and friends back in the States, and how do you judge it from so far away in Europe?
Well, the world is such a much smaller place than it was years and years ago with social media. So, it just seems like you could just reach out and touch whatever is going on. About the police violence and the disproportionate numbers of black men that seem to be involved in a lot of these unnecessary shootings. I have several different opinions about what's going on. One, it's a much larger problem than just police brutality. We've got one of the largest prison systems in the entire world. It's a money-making business. There's a lot of corrupt judges that are paid money to beef up charges on black defendants, so they go to prison. As a black man living in America, an educated black man who has traveled the world, speaks a couple of different languages, even I have gotten stopped by the police probably no less than 15 times. And I've never been ticketed, never been cited, thankfully never shot, and the only saving grace for me was the fact that, I was in the military. And I had my military uniforms hanging up in the back of my car, and they were like, just go ahead, but pulled over for things like, I have a tail light out, which, I'm a car lover and I take care of my car. So I know that was a lie. I was swerving, or I was driving too close to a truck, or I had a headlight out, just something insignificant to pull you over. And I laugh because, I used to ride around in a 1996 328i. Tricked out, it was really nice, but it was busted. The air conditioner was gone, it was hot. And I'm like, dude, if I'm like really like running drugs, if that's why you pulled me over, don't you think that I would have like a new BMW, It's really tragic and it's really sad. I think a lot of people are either going to understand it, have a great deal of empathy or sympathy for the situation. There are pros and cons, people on both sides of this argument. I'm certainly not saying that all the black men that have been, lost their lives in a police scuffle, that they were all innocent. I'm going to be real with you. There are people out there that have done some bad things, and I think not all cases, but some of the cases, those perpetrators were at fault. I do think our police departments need to be trained better. We're getting a lot of military people coming into the police force who have been traumatized, in war zones, and they're coming back feeling like they have to prove something. There is an anger that seems to be growing, and I love so many different kinds of people. I have all kinds of people in my life, from Asian to Muslim, Chinese, straight, gay, black, white, purple. I mean, the people that are in my life are varied. So when I see and I hear people saying things like, well, that we're a violent people, that we brought this on ourselves, the police departments really need to understand too, if you've got, a 5'6" female and it takes 4 grown ass men to subdue her, then you need to go back to training to figure out how to do that. Or if you're trying to slow down a perp, then you need to figure out how to shoot them in the foot or in the leg. But to unload a clip into an unarmed person is the most inhumane and most ridiculous thing I've ever heard or seen in my life, And it's, I think about this every day because, as a black man, I can't change that. That's who I am, You walk outside and the color of your skin sometimes creates a fear in people who don't know you. You know me. You know that I'm a nice guy. You know that I give you the shirt off my back if asked. But I remember walking down the street when I was living in Washington, D.C., and having people just move to the other side of the sidewalk. I was like, wow, So it's, I don't know how we can fix this, but, we have militarized our police departments. They have military-grade weapons, vehicles. There's no longer the neighborhood cop that used to come around. When I was a kid, we knew Officer Chuck, and we would always say hi, we'd play, and was a nice guy. But now people are afraid to talk to the cops,
Yeah, it's it's an issue that's gonna keep going on, but we're here for the music. But thanks for giving your 5 cents about the topic. We can just hope that maybe it can get better.
Yeah, we have to get better. We have got to find a way to come together. And for me, as a God-fearing Christian kind of guy, the United States has turned its back on God, and we're reaping the benefits of that. As far as I can say, we've taken God out of the schools, we've taken him out of our government, we've taken him out of everything. And so, we have an old saying where the chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah. You've been with Bouche now for over 20 years. Has time flown by for you?
Has it been that long? It just seems like yesterday. It does seem like yesterday. I honestly cannot believe that I'm still at this age doing this. It's just been an incredible blessing, man. It's just I was looking at this or thinking about this a few months ago, and Dr. Alba was having a 25 years in the music business party up in Stockholm, and I started counting up the number of years that I've been in this game. I was like, wow, I'm not far behind that. So it has flown.
What really surprised me a little is just, sometimes when you learn about acts or singers, rappers, you actually, before you came to Germany, you performed in musicals.
Yeah.
A Chorus Line, West Side Story. Did you come from a musical background?
Actually, no. My musical background started in high school as a trumpet player. And then someone talked me into getting into high school choir. And my choir ended up coming to New York my senior year in high school. And I got to see a Chorus Line. I got to see Evita and Annie. And I was just like mesmerized by this ability to do this on a live stage setting. And so it wasn't until years later when I was in the military, I was stationed in Alaska, and I was dancing with this little hip hop group, from the dance studio. It was really corny, but they were doing auditions for West Side Story there, and so I said, okay, well, I'm a dancer. I'm not really a singer kind of guy, whatever. But I auditioned for it and got the role of Bernardo. And as a result from that, I went on to do La Boheme, another play called Tomfoolery, Sophisticated Ladies. And it's really no different than what we're doing now, just on a different stage. It's performing to live audiences,
You've kind of traveled the world in young years. You were in Turkey, you were in Korea, then you came to Germany. Do you feel, by seeing so much at a young age, that kind of shaped your character and made you the man that you are today?
Well, I mean, I can give some credence to that, but I have to give my parents the bulk of the credit for me being who I am today, because, I know there's a lot of kids out there that unfortunately don't have the benefit of a two-parent home, and are raised with those kind of values. My mom and dad were pretty lenient, but they were also pretty strict when it came to doing what they said do. Get an education, speak English. We use slang, whatever. My mom would slap us in the lips or stand up straight, how to speak to people, please, excuse me, thank you, those basic tools that kids don't have today. I think the kids today have a certain degree of self-entitlement. My generation, we worked for everything that we had, and my parents are responsible, and primarily my dad, for me being the man that I am today. I mean, my work ethic has been modeled after his.
When you came to Germany, you met Melanie Thornton, who would later be your sidekick in Bouche. You guys were in Saarbrücken, and you guys formed a cover band called Groovin' Affair. When exactly was that? Because Bouche was formed in '94. When did you meet Melanie Thornton for the first time?
For the first time, it was actually in 1994. It was, I want to say it was in the spring of 1994. And a mutual acquaintance of the both of us, can't remember what his name is right off the top of my head, but he asked me if I could cover for him, because he was the one that was actually singing with Melanie in Groovin' Affairs.
Okay. What was his name? I forget it.
I forget it too.
Because he actually sang in Sweet Dreams, didn't he?
No.
Before you came, or no?
No. This was before.
Ray Horton, I think.
No.
No? Okay.
No. The guy that I'm talking about that was in Groovin' Affairs, his name was Eddie something. And Melanie and he were singing together. And Melanie at this point hadn't even recorded those songs yet. So we got together as a result of this guy not being able to fulfill a couple of gigs. He asked me to cover for him. So I was like, sure. So I did the 2 gigs with Melanie. The band fell in love with me. They're like, well, we want you to stay in the band. I said, well, you need to talk to my friend, because this is his gig, And as it turns out, he ended up working on I want to say one of the military bases in Frankfurt or something like that. So he was unable to do it. So I stayed with the band. Subsequent to that, Melanie came to me one day. She said, I've got this project that I'm doing. Would you be interested in coming in and being my partner? I was like, sure, So now this obviously some time has lapsed, So Sweet Dreams was already recorded, and that was recorded with Robert Haynes.
Robert Haynes, okay. Ray Horton kind of.
Yeah, Robert Haynes. Yeah. And so that was all done before I came to the picture. And then she had also recorded Tonight is the Night. And so those 2 songs were shopped around to record companies. Nobody in Germany wanted Sweet Dreams.
Let me just interject. In conjunction with that, how did you take in this whole dance floor craze? I mean, because the first wave were the Snaps, the 2 Unlimiteds, the Culture Beats, and then kind of Bouche came, because they obviously understood. I mean, Frank Farian, he understood, we're going to make some money also, because this is booming right now. Why didn't these record labels want those songs? Those songs were great, and there was a dance floor craze in Germany, in the world.
I don't know. My own personal opinion, I think the record companies didn't think that dance music was really like a viable money-making commodity in the beginning. I think for Melanie and myself, unlike Snap and Culture Beat, we brought more of a pop sensibility to it, that could cross over to mainstream. But going back real quick to this whole Sweet Dreams thing and everything, I never wanted to be and am not a puppet. So one of the things that I insisted on when I got into the group is that we were going to need to re-record Sweet Dreams with my vocals. So we did that for the video in the U.S. But after doing one of the record, Tonight Is the Night, went to Logic Records. Of course, that was Melanie's voice. The video came out. It was, pretty model, and the rapper that was in that. And ironically, that song stayed in the charts in the U.S. for like 2 years.
But why was that? It was under Le Click.
Yeah, because that was the name of the group once they formed the video. And once
That wasn't really a La Bouche song.
No, but it was Melanie's voice. So it's kind of synonymous together, right? So once the song has been kicked around for a couple of years, the record, we need to do something with this. So they wanted to form a group for it. So Juli Brenner and Armor Seraph, found Kayo Shikoni, a Swedish girl, and brought her in, brought Robert Haynes into that to form Le Click. Some other stuff happened with them going back into the U.S., and he was apprehended by the authorities for non-payment of child support or something crazy, and so then the clique just became Kayo, and she did the record. Sweet Dreams then bounced, to Uli sent it to Scorpio Music in France, and they were like, we'll pass. And then one of the label reps there sent it to a friend of his in Italy, radio DJ, started playing it on the radio. It went all the way to #1 on the Italian charts, and we go down. There's at this point no video made, nothing, and so we go down to do this thing called Festival Bar. It was a big festival with like the top 50 songs on the charts or whatever, from Joe Cocker, Bon Jovi, Bouche, whoever was in the charts was there, and we were the main attraction. So no one knew what we looked like. They knew the song. Melanie and I are kind of looking at each other like, why are all these security people around us like this? And there was probably about 40 or 50,000 people at this venue, outdoor venue. And we're looking around thinking, Madonna or Michael Jackson or somebody is actually here, because this security couldn't be for us, who nobody knows, but it was for us. And you talk about a rush. I mean, it was phenomenal. But that's how that started. So it came back to Germany. Frank picked it up on on MCI Music, his label, and then BMG Berlin picked it up, and then we started working on the album, which we finished up by the fall of 1994.
Talk a little about Frank Fabian. He was kind of the mastermind behind La Bouche. What do you remember about him? What words of wisdom did he give you in the studio? I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah, he is a legend, and I have a great deal of respect for him, but I wouldn't say that he was the man behind La Bouche. I have to really give credit to Armor Seraph and Uli, because all the songs that were really hits, your Be My Lover, Sweet Dreams, SOS, In Your Life, You Won't Forget. I mean, those songs were written by the two of them. Frank obviously was, integral in our success, given his track record, with Boney M, Eruption, No Mercy,
Milli Vanilli.
And he has an ear for what was going to sell, and so I was just taking it all in.
What you already mentioned, Uli Brenner and Amr Sharif. What do you think was the secret to their success in being able to make these songs? I mean,
well, just like a good pot of like soup, you have to have the right ingredients for it all to come together, And I've made soup before and added too much of this or too much of that, and it came out a little salty, So musically, you have to have the right combination. Uli was a DJ, so he knew what was needed, for the clubs and what was trending and da-da-da-da. Armir was just a musical genius, in my opinion, because he could come up with such subtle melodies that were just phenomenal. And then you put, Melanie's vocals on top of that, and then my swag on the rap, it just was a working combination. And I think for any success to happen for anybody, it's a preparation that meets an opportunity, and then the success, I think.
When you were in the studio and Be My Lover was a rap, did you know it would be a hit?
No. And I'll tell you, when I first came to Germany and I was listening to dance music, it was like, oh, this stuff is fast. It was like, and I'm just coming over from the United States where everything was kind of like boom, 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 boom. But then I started hearing people like Martha Wash, who was the voice on Black Box. I started hearing Jocelyn Brown. I started hearing the CeCe Peniston and Crystal Waters, and I was like, okay, I can groove on this, And so that's how I kind of got into it. And the I have my own personal taste musically because I love like house music. So the more house it is, the more I like it. I look back at some of the old videos, live performances where we were doing Be My Lover, like at Spring Break or on Viva or something. I was like, that song was fast because I was moving like a jackrabbit.
Why do you believe is Be My Lover timeless? Just that Be My Lover, it gets in your ear. And
I know, man, it's one of those iconic songs, like and there are obviously other songs out there, like It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows I like big butts and I can't, they just, the Germans call it like earworm, yeah. It just sticks in your head, and that whole line on Be My Lover, la da da dee da 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 da. Yeah. When you're writing, you sit there sometimes and you're going, na 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 na, and we just couldn't figure out the words for that particular part, so we just left that in there, and that kind of became the hook. And I've got a new song that's coming. I know we're probably going to get to that later, but a new song that is coming with me and my new singer that is very eerily similar to, it's like the sequel to like Be My Lover 20 years later.
Wow, well, we'll get to that later. This is just my opinion, but I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me. Probably the three greatest dance floor tracks of all time: the Power from Snap, Mr. Vain from Culture Beat, and Be My Lover from Bouche. Can you really rate these three tracks? Is one really better than the other, or?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, you're gonna say Be My Lover.
Well, no, for different reasons. I think I've Got the Power. The infectiousness of that bass line, you can't help but to move to it. Mr. Vain is so catchy lyrically, and Be My Lover is just, just a classic dance track that I think was at the right place at the right time, and to even be mentioned in the same breath with, those guys, Culture Beat and Snap, is an honor, because we're all out here doing our thing, and I love that song.
You already mentioned it earlier in the interview that Bouche kind of had that pop sound. Would you say, what was the biggest difference from Bouche to the first wave of dance floor acts that came out, like I already said, Snap and Culture Beat? Was it that pop effect that you guys were having in the sound?
Yes, I think every musician, every singer, comes from somewhere, whether it's, LA or New York, or from the South, or from the hood, or from the suburbs, or whatever. And a lot of that shapes who you are as a vocalist, and Melanie and I both, not saying anything that my colleagues are not this, but we just came from a different kind of upbringing, and I think it was that crossover pop sound that people fell in love with, and Melanie was a beautiful, gorgeous young lady, and I guess I wasn't bad on the eyes either, but it was a good combination, and when I talked to some of my colleagues too about a lot of the problems and issues that they have as a group, that group dynamic, it's unfortunate, like I said, that me and Melanie always got along, but we respected each other, and when I hear some of the stories floating around, about some of my colleagues, and, they should still be working together because there's a lot to be done out there. I really would love to see, Tanya and Jay back on the stage together. I don't know if that could happen. I know people grow, into other things. But, you know, one of the things that Frank told me in the beginning was like, you never break up a winning team. You know, just suck it up, you know, and keep moving forward.
How much fun was it making the video "Fallen in Love" with Melanie? It really seemed like you guys were a couple in that video.
Yeah. The video was fantastic. We shot that in Miami, obviously, and just as a kid from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, you know, Army brat, being on a video shoot with a crew and lights, camera, action was so overwhelming but humbling for me to be able to do that. And Falling in Love, I guess, was like our third or fourth video that we had shot. And to have all these, because in the beginning, if you look at the fashion transition from when we first started out, you know, it was very hood, you know, it was very, let me see what I can afford to buy, you know. And then as the money started coming in, you know, people started giving us things. You know, it wasn't like we had to buy them anymore. So the whole video shoot was all couture, you know, Terry Mugler, Dolce Gabbana. I mean, just all the names that you could think of. It was just like a kid in a candy store. I want that, I want that, I want to wear this. Melanie was looking gorgeous and the stuff that they had for her. But it was a fun video to shoot because originally Melanie and I wanted to be the love interest in the video. And Frank was like, no, we got some actors that are going to do that part. I was like, man, this sucks, you know. But part of the video we shot at the Biltmore Hotel, in the Capone suite of that hotel, where he apparently was attempted murder. I'm not sure if that's where he died, but the walls are still riddled with bullet holes. Wow. And so it was kind of strange being in there. South Beach, you know, the water. I mean, it was just a magical shoot. And it was on my birthday as well.
That was nice. In I Love to Love, it seemed like Melanie Thornton really was like in the limelight. Did you sometimes feel like you were second fiddle to her in La Bouche?
In the video?
Yeah, there too, obviously, but also in other tracks.
Well, let me talk about the video real quick. Interestingly enough, that particular video was a 2-day video shoot for me because we had a promotion in the middle of that. So the first day, Melanie shot all her parts. And actually, I thought that video featured me more.
I must have not watched it. I think I was watching her more, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, naturally. But being overshadowed, no. I mean, you have to know who you are, what you got hired to do. I was hired as the rapper, you know, and I think as they would say in the rap world, parlayed that into more, you know, as they figured out, oh wow, this guy can sing a little bit. So I got used a little bit more in that regard. But no, I never felt like I was in Melanie's shadow, and there are a lot of conversations that I've had with people about the group dynamic. And I want to say that the record company, you know, has to take some of the blame for when you have a group of like 4 or 5 guys, the record company, even though they all may equally sing as well, the record company is always like kind of pushing one to the front, you know, and the others kind of feel a little disenfranchised and kind of like accessories, you know. And that's unfortunate, you know. I don't think that I would have stood for that if that was the case. I remember when we were shooting the video for You Won't Forget Me in New York, and you know, the stylist came by, and it was like 3 or 4 racks of just these beautiful clothes for Melanie, and they came in here with these 2 little clothes hangers for me with this skin tight pants and this almost nothing shirt, you know. And I was like, I don't know what the concept of this video is, but there's no way in hell that I'm wearing that, you know. And so I said, but don't worry about it. I said, I have a suitcase full of brand new clothes with the label still on them. I can still make an invoice and give it to you, and you guys can pay for it. And then when we got over to the video shoot, you know, in the U.S., the radio stations sometimes won't play what they call rap music, even if it's dance music with like an 8-bar rap in it. So a lot of dance artists who are played in the US, those rap parts are edited out where it's just the song. So we get to the video shoot, someone at the label had taken it upon themselves to edit my rap down from 16 bars to 8, which typically is no problem because you have to fit a certain time frame, right? Well, if you're going to edit my lyrics, then you should edit it in a way where it makes sense grammatically, because the way they had it done, I would never say that, so I said, I tell you what, we just won't put the rap in it. How about that? And then we'll just shoot the video around it. And everyone started kind of buzzing around. They had to get on the phone and call the A&R guy who was in England or something like that. And he was like, well, Lane, what's going on? I said, what's the deal? I said, you want me to do a rap that doesn't make any grammatical sense. I said, I'm an educated man. I said, and I would never say that. So you can either take it out or you can do the whole 16 bars, which I just happen to have a copy with me. So we played that. I did the whole entire rap. The director was like, oh my God, this is great, because it gave him more to cut.
Right.
So.
The second album wasn't as successful anymore as the first album. It was called SOS. Did you think that the dance floor craze was just dying down a little? And did you like the sound actually of the second album because it wasn't so much dance floor anymore?
Well, like I said earlier, sometimes when you get too many cooks in the kitchen, you start to burn food up, and things don't come out the way they should. I don't think the dance craze had started to wane at that particular point. I think we, instead of letting, Uli and Amir, who had, created these iconic dance tracks, do more, a lot of the other responsibilities were, shucked out to other producers, other songwriters. And I hate to say that it was about money, but I think possibly, if that I've sold kabillion records or whatever, and then I'm going to do another record, I want to get, one of my songs on that album. And it just kind of pushed the little guys out. I enjoyed the record. I think You Won't Forget Me, that me and Frank wrote was classic. I mean, I loved it. SOS, loved it.
Forget Me Nots? Did you like the original from Patrice Rushen?
Oh, of course, yeah, 1977.
Classic.
Yes. Loved that. Loved the Diane Warren song, Sweet Little Persuader. There were a couple of great ballads on there. Carmen Weber. We had a song called Boom Boom that was on the original release of Sweet Dreams. And I'll Be There. So there were some great songs on there that really kind of, if you listen to it, you could see the vocal growth. It wasn't as bubblegum, if you will. It's unfortunate, but that sophomore slump, is real.
Your trademark seemed to be those sunglasses. Was that something that came from you, or was that from the label?
The little small ones?
Yeah, you had them on in a lot of videos.
No, that was just my own personal style. Some of the stuff was there, like on the tables for, accessories or whatever.
Did they say, okay, Lane, you're going to wear these sunglasses in this video, or did you just pop them on and say, hey, I'm going to wear them?
I just popped them on. I think I have a good eye for fashion, I think, and glasses sometimes give, creative people, the cameraman, something to work with. If you're shooting like into the lens, the reflection from it, can be a tremendous effect. But no, and besides that video, if you could have seen these pants, and not that I have anything against gay people, but the pants were gay. They were just like so tight you could see my thoughts. And I was like, dude, my mother would kill me if I put this on.
A beautiful track was A Moment of Love. It wasn't a hit at all in Germany. I think it reached number 18 in Finland. How could really a very well produced track like this not work in 1998? I never understood that.
Well, here's the music business 101. If the label is expecting a single to be delivered to them with all the mixes on X date, and they've set up promotions around it, TV appearances, radio interviews, and they don't get the record until X date, the window of opportunity has been blown. So everything is a well coordinated attack, and when someone doesn't deliver when they say they're going to deliver, it throws everything into a tailspin. And that song was written by Mary Applegate, who wrote The Power of Love, and it's a tremendous song. I loved it. The video was great.
It had chart potential.
Yeah, it really did.
SOS was the last release in 1999. Did you ever think then that would be the last release or the last song that would chart for Bouche at that time?
Well, actually, the last release was In Your Life, which was 2002.
Okay, but I looked in the discography. Did that chart?
It charted a little bit in the U.S.
Okay, but here in Germany, I mean,
I don't even know if it was released here in the States. How did that happen? Can we pause for a second?
Wie schätzt Ist das Licht noch gut oder ist es zu dunkel? Okay.
That just happened to be the new song. That was the new song.
A question that I ask a lot of the artists. I ask.
Machst du jetzt weiter oder wie?
Ja, oder kannst du ja dann so weiter reinschneiden, ne? Oh, sorry, du hast schon gemacht. Okay, a question I like to ask artists, especially the guys that had a lot of success in the 90s, is, did you just think it would just go on forever? I mean, I ask a lot of artists is because you have so much success, you just don't think it's going to stop.
No, I mean, realistically, I mean, come on. I mean, I was 32 when this began, and I hope no one really thought it was going to go on forever. That's why it's important to be involved in all aspects of the business, from the writing, the production, the performance. I didn't know when it was going to end, but I knew it was going to transition, and obviously that transition kind of came when Melanie passed away and took it to a different level. Now it's transitioning into the next phase of it. So, no, me and Melanie were both firmly planted on the ground feet, so we definitely knew, everything has a life expectancy.
Melanie Thornton left the group in 2000. How tough was the split, and what was it like teaming up with Natasha Wright?
Well, it was kind of like when Melanie was making those plans, they were really kind of unknown to everyone else, as she was working things out or what have you. The dynamic did change a little bit for us on the making of that second record, where I was fine with the direction that I think Frank was taking us and giving us. You have to trust him with the amount of success that he's had. And I think Melanie just wanted to spread her wings and be more in control of what she was doing vocally. And I think that was why her desire to move on, was so prevalent, and I probably was the first one to buy her record. I mean, I thought it was a great record. I loved it. Loved her voice. So, and then in come the other girl, Millie, Ingrid, Millie, Frank's right-hand girl, calls me one day and she says, "Lane." I said, "Hey, Millie, how you doing?" "Thanks God I got you. I just want to say, we found another girl for Bouche, do you know this girl, blah, 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 blah." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, she's the same background for us. Of course I know her, And so, that began that liaison. And I don't want to talk bad about anyone. I said, but I've got to say this. After having co-written several hits, to go in with this All I Want single that we did and not be included in on the writing aspect of that, or be involved really vocally in that, was really hurtful to me. And this is another part of the music business that really kind of sucks, when people are taken advantage of, on both sides of the coin, So, I mean, this was yet again one of these things where a product was supposed to be delivered on such and such a date. It was not. All the window promotions, there were TV shows, there were car sponsors, there were all kinds of things that were going on associated with that song. $300,000 music video, and the song charts at 98 one week, and then it's gone the next. So,
yeah. On November 24th, 2001, Melanie Thornton tragically died. Do you remember where you were when you heard the tragic news?
Yes. It was Thanksgiving. I was in Las Vegas at my parents' house. And one of my friends that lives here in Germany, David Moore, he's a big, plays pop on Starlight Express, calls me. He says, "Hey, did you hear about a plane crash?" And I was like, "Where?" And he was like, "Well, in Switzerland." And it was, they think Melanie was on board. They don't know yet. I said, "Well, keep me posted." So I thought to myself, if something's going to go down like that, I said, Melanie was the type of person that would walk away from something like that. I mean, she was that tenacious. I mean, she was that tough, And so then my friend Crystal Waters calls me and she says, "Lane, have you heard?" I was like, "Have I heard what?" And right at that precise moment we were watching CNN, me and my dad, and a little ticker tape came up. American-born singer Melanie Thornton dies in crosshair crash. And,
Your heart sank.
My mouth was shut wide open. I was like, wow. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say or do, and it's still, even to this day, it's just really painful, because one of the things that Melanie and I used to always tell each other is that, tomorrow's not promised to anyone. So the people that are in your life, tell them that you love them. Tell them how you feel, so you're not left with this gaping hole, when something tragic like this happens, Melanie and I had talked on, do people still have AOL?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, if we were on AOL chat, the year that she left, the year that she passed away. And a couple of things. Hey, I really love the record. And then I was like, the track so-and-so was really great. I really loved it. The sound just tremendous. And, a few messages back and forth. But, I never got to hug her. I never got to see her again, And it's ironic, this past February, I had a gig in Zurich, and we were flying in on the same flight. And it didn't dawn on me until we were actually descending that this was the same intended route that Melanie was on when she passed away. And, there's a nice monument to the crash there on the airport property for the people that lost their lives there. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Melanie and some of the wonderful times that we had, some of the crazy times we had. She will be forever Bouche, and her family and I, are in constant communication. But, the simple fact of the matter is that we're all going to have to leave this earth at some point, and it's so paramount to live our lives for the good, of the greater mankind, so we don't have the kind of crap that's going on today, people killing each other. And
What will you remember most about Melanie Thornton, the singer and person?
I probably, the personal part of it, will remember her infectious laugh. I love somebody that can have fun and just laugh at themselves and laugh at other things. And we did that all the time. It was such a great thing to hear. Melanie, the singer, Melanie was one of those kind of people that could sing the telephone book. She could sing anything, I think her voice was iconic as Donna Summer. I haven't never heard anything close to it since. So
Do you think she could have stepped up to the big time and, been in the same breath of the Mariah Careys and the Whitney Houstons at that time?
I don't really know. I mean, what God has for me is for me. What He had for her was for her. Certainly, she was going to be successful in whatever it is that she decided to do. I think she probably would have even, gone into television, acting, or something. I mean, because she had a lot that she wanted to accomplish. She was into fashion. Her and her mom were designing clothes. In fact, her mom, Dolores Thornton, and her sister, Lois, have created a fashion line called Sweet Dreams that just debuted a few weeks ago. So, I know that she would still be working for sure, definitely sharing her gift with the rest of the world.
You continue to stay faithful to La Bouche. You've been touring for many years, but you're also still producing tracks. Recently, you produced a track with Bernard Green, also known as BG, the Prince of Rap. I Feel You, and he told us in the interview that was actually your track. What do you appreciate most about Bernard Green, who also is from Washington, D.C.?
Yes. Well, I've always wanted to be a collaborator. I've always wanted to work with other people. Like you hear all these mashups, in R&B and hip hop, dance music, we just didn't do that, and I was like, why? So, and there's a few more things coming with a few other people. I just like to keep it interesting and everything. And I'd asked him if he would do that, and he was like, absolutely, But that song was, I've released a few singles, because I'm simultaneously working on my self-titled CD, along with the new La Bouche CD. So it's time consuming.
Yeah, we're going to get to the La Bouche album in a second. We're kind of wrapping it up, but I still have some more questions about what you're doing now. Quickly, how are the fans different today, that come to your shows, than 20 years ago?
I think the only difference is that they are younger. The same enthusiasm, the same joy is there. And it's, for sure, I think a lot of these people that come to these shows, their mom and dad might say, oh yeah, that was, the big songs when I was a kid, but a lot of kids that are coming to these shows, parents aren't there, and a lot of them think that this is new music, to them. And so dance music has really just stood the test of time, over the years, to be constantly still played on the radio, I kind of liken it to, we had jazz in the 40s, we had rock and roll in the 50s, we had, Motown like in the 60s, and we had, rock in the 70s and disco in the 80s. And then we've got dance in the 90s. So it's become a legitimate, viable genre of music, that was going to last forever.
Right. What was your most crazy fan experience back in the day that you can tell us? We don't want to know about what happened in the hotel room.
No, there were no hotel gaffes because me and Melanie used to always check in under pseudonyms. And I won't tell you what mine is, but probably one of the...
I got one for you. William Broad.
Okay. Well, mine was...
No, it's not me. Billy Idol.
Okay. All right.
So that was just a little...
No, but my check-in name was Dexter St. James. So, and my family, my mom, dad, everybody knew that name. So when they would call the hotel, because obviously this was long before cell phones and stuff, and they were like, yes, I need to speak with Dexter St. James, and they would connect me. So if you called there looking for me, you wouldn't get me. But strange fan things, I was tongued by a toothless old lady that just, I was shaking hands going down the line, and she just kind of grabbed the back of my neck and just went for it, and I was like...
She wasn't a granny, was she?
She was close.
Poor guy.
We were in Brazil, and the security there was really kind of lax, and so people had pulled out a couple of Melanie's braids. They had pulled off. I had some shirt garters on my jacket that they pulled off, and it got kind of rough. I'm not sure if I can speak for Melanie as far as any fan experience, but I think all of us, that came up around the 90s, when you would fly especially into Berlin, there was this one kid there in Berlin that had every photograph that was ever taken of you and wanted you to sign every last one of them. And there's no way that you can do that. And how do you do that and not hurt their feelings?
How do these kids find out when you guys fly in? Did he live there?
I don't know if daddy worked at the airport or something, but they were always there. And it was freaky, because it was the same kid. I was like, there he is, Melly, there he is, And, we would sign as many as we could, and then they would rush us off. So.
Is there ever a day where you just can't hear Be My Lover?
No. I have close to, I think, 5,000 friends or something on my Facebook page. And there's probably not a day that goes by that I don't get like a photograph of someone's, satellite radio with Be My Lover, or at a football game playing the music in the background, or one of my friends was I was in Florida a couple of days ago, Stacy. Hi, Stacy. And she was like, oh my God, I'm by the pool lane. And listen, la, 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 la. And she didn't want to sing it out loud, but they were playing it there, A couple of years ago, I was in Georgetown in D.C., and I was just walking around having a coffee, 10 o'clock in the morning. Some car blares by, Be My Lover. I was like, wow, okay. I don't know if that's a sign that you've made it, but it's really, really, really humbling, to hear that, but I don't get tired. I love music, I don't get tired of singing it. And for your viewers out there, this is the anniversary of Be My Lover. And so
how about giving us a little Be My Lover here, a cappella?
Well, let me just finish what I was going to say. Okay. But I have 19 brand new mixes from like Stonebridge and some other, well-known remixers that we're going to release that. Okay. And so I'm really excited about a lot of the European mixes of it. And
but this has nothing to do with the new La Bouche. I read there's going to be a new La Bouche album. I mean, there's no new Snap album. There's no new Culture Beat album coming up, but a new La Bouche. This is going to be great. Talk about it.
It's going to be epic, and keeping Frank involved, I certainly have kind of taken the reins, because it's my career. But Sophie Cairo and myself are La Bouche, right. Officially. The other girls that were singing, with me before were kind of like work for hire. And that's not a bad thing. But we are a team, we are making decisions together. We're in the studio already. I have recorded the first single. And in between the gaps of touring and shows, we will continue to record. People have been asking for years. It's a shame that these producers from Snap, from La Bouche, from these other groups who are still working 4 nights a week and have been since the inception of the groups, don't capitalize off of that. I don't understand that. But no shade, no tea. La Bouche is going to make that happen. And hopefully, we'll have some collaborations with some of these other artists as well on it, to help, give them a leg up, get something new out there.
Is this going to be more Dancefloor, or are you going to try to, groove it up to the times with the EDM sound of today?
You know what? It's going to be as organic as it was when we created it in the beginning. I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to stray too far away from what people know from La Bouche. But if you listen to the La Bouche records, I mean, they were pretty diverse, from the dance stuff to the ballads to the more pop-oriented kind of sound to even some almost country kind of stuff on, like Do You Still Need Me from the first record. Yeah. So it'll probably be a little bit of that, and it's definitely going to take a different, tone with Sophie's voice, and my voice.
Well, that'd be interesting. We're all looking forward to that. If you could work with one artist to go into the studio, who would you pick?
Just one?
Yeah.
Now, are they producing me or just to be in the studio just listening?
Yeah, I'll be someone that's gonna, showcase your voice.
I have always like worked with people that were going to challenge me, because I don't think even at this day that I, have arrived. I think I have the best voice, the best whatever, I like for people to pull out things out of me that I didn't know I had in me, different styles. And I would have loved to work with Prince. I just talent that's just gone way too soon.
What do you miss most from the 90s, the Bouche days?
What? I don't know if I really miss. Yeah, I miss my 28-inch waist that I used to have. I don't know.
28 is very skinny.
Yeah. And look, I ate like a pig too, but I think, I don't know. I mean, one of the things that still happens now with these festivals that we still get to see each other, Hathaway, Dr. Alban, Snap, Coach B, we're kind of like this family of friends. And we don't get to spend a whole lot of time with each other, but we get to have a little dinner, a couple of drinks, and off to the next thing. I miss that camaraderie. I mean, because it kind of replaced the camaraderie that I had when I was in the military with my buddies. Now this is my dance group family, so I miss the constant.
What 3 tracks would you take to a deserted island?
Any track?
Yeah.
I would take Samuel Barber's Adagio for Strings.
Wow. I didn't know you even knew that song. Do you know the Tiesto remix?
Yes. But the original of that is just...
I'm impressed now.
I just love that. It just speaks to me, and there's also the Vienna Boys Choir did an a cappella version of it, which was like, wow. But I definitely would take that one. I would probably take a Larnell Harris song, But God. And okay, so I've got the chilled out, mellow Zen song. I've got Larnell, the spiritual song that I needed something to move to. So I would have to say, and I was just listening to this the other day, it was a remix of Sade's Hallelujah, Calvin Fisher's remix of it. So I could run around the island to stay in shape, with that.
Music isn't the only thing in your life. You also work with people living with HIV and the AIDS disease. How important is that for you? And you seem to have been really keeping up with that for a long time.
Well, thankfully, it's not as damning and condemning as it was as in the 80s and the early 90s, with medication and advancements and things like that. I don't know. I just have always been a compassionate person. I was the kid that I was always bringing home, stray animals, to the house, and, my mom let me keep them, But the question that I always asked myself, what if this was me? What if I had some incurable disease, even beyond, HIV, some flesh-eating bacteria, and the thought of no one ever touching me, hugging me, made me really sad, So Melanie and I were first introduced to an organization here in Germany called Big Spender. I'm not sure if it's still around or not, but it was a hospice that was taking care of people who were actually dying from AIDS, and not living with HIV. And we sat and just talked with them, had coffee with them, played checkers. Melanie read a little bit to a couple of people because she could read German. My German wasn't that great at the time. But, in the United States, a lot of church organizations, stuff that I deal with, talking to the kids, because it's absolutely senseless in this year for anyone to contract HIV, because it is 100% preventable. You have to protect yourself, you have to wear condoms, you have to ask the questions, what's your status? When's the last time you were checked? I mean, if you are serious about taking care of yourself, and these kids out here today really think that it's gone away, and so, to each his own, you make your own decisions, but for me, information is king. The more you know, the better you do. You know, and I think, and especially for young kids, you know, that are still in high school, besides, you know, saving their lives, you know, saving their lives on a different level of not getting prematurely into being parents, you know. But, you know, they're making some serious advancements in, you know, HIV. I really think it's a cure is going to happen for that.
We're all hoping for that. Lane, we're coming to the end now. 3 more questions. Who would win a rap contest? You, Turbo B, or BG the Prince of Rap?
Being honest, I would probably say Turbo. Yeah, I'd probably say him. And then I'd probably give me and BG like a tie. Yeah.
Being nice to your
What do
friend.
you say?
I don't know if I asked him that. He probably picked himself.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that egotistical. I mean, I wouldn't say that, you know, because I don't think I'm the best at anything. I just think I'm good at what I do.
All right. If the door knocked right now and you opened it up and Melanie Thornton stood in front of you again after all these years, what would be the first thing that you would ask her?
Well, after I got up off the floor, girl, I have missed you so much.
That's a nice way to end this interview, but how about getting that a cappella of Be My Lover just to bring back old times?
Old times. Let me warm up. Ma 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 ma. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da. La da 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 dee da. La da dee da 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 da.
Very nice. Lane McCray from Bouche, thank you so much for being our guest today for Trenergy TV. And all the best. I think you have a gig in Spain tomorrow.
Yeah, in Torrevieja, Spain. And then in Oberhausen on the 5th of August. And then the 10th of August, we fly to Chicago for what they call Market Days. We're going to be opening up for Deborah Cox.
Wow.
And then we come back and we do 2 dates, the 20th and 27th in Denmark. And then we go to Australia for 2 weeks. And then we come back and then we go back to Chicago for a show with London Beat and Hathaway at Copernicus Hall in Chicago. And then the next day we're in Toronto. And then I can't remember after that.
You have your schedule in your mind.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Lane. We're really anticipating and looking forward to the new La Bouche album. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.